The teen Tepe is spending his morning routine having a simple happy moment of getting ready for school with his parents. As he says goodbye to them, he doesn't realize it will be the last time he sees them. At present, Tepe is paying his respects at the tombs of both his parents. He suddenly sees a horse carriage with a woman in it being chased down by 3 men on a jeep. He hurries with his bike to rescue the pursued. Tepe catches up and ends up fighting the violent men. One of the men points a gun at him, but the horse carriage driver, Alfred, stops the gunner before he can do anything and shows his fighting prowess with one man with a knife. Due to the damage to the carriage, it is out of control. Tepe jumps into the carriage to help the lady still in it. The two hold each other's hands as they fall into the forest at a great height below. Alfred is so overrun by anger that he takes it up with the last remaining man. Tepe wakes up in the forest with no damage. The woman then wakes up alright. She introduces herself as Princess Charlotte. They return to the road above, where Alfred already has a limo ready for his mistress. With Charlotte kissing Tepe on the cheek, the two parted ways. Tepe sees that he has 14 unread phone messages and realizes he is in a hurry. He goes to a grand luxury hotel to visit its owner, Arima Ishin, but none of the security guards believe him. The old Ishin comes to his rescue as he is being kicked out, revealing that Tepe is his honored guest. It turns out that Ishin is Tepe's grandfather from his mother's side, and they have only been acquainted with each other since Tepe's parents died. Tepe says that if he finds the culprit in his parents' murder, he will take his revenge, something that Ishin does not approve of. Ishin introduces Tepe to a crowd of the suited rich at a grand ballroom party, all while Tepe is still in his dirty clothes from the morning chaos. Tepe is just as shocked as the crowd at his grandfather's announcement that he will be the successor of the Arima Financial Combine. Ishin let Tepe be in his dirty clothes since he told him he rescued someone on the way to the hotel. However, even he is surprised to hear that he rescued the royal princess of Hazelrink. Tepe is angry that Ishin surprised him with the succession announcement, but Ishin assures him he will not impede his revenge plans. He warns Tepe that he will have enemies as the new successor, and that he needs to create allies. However, most of the people who try to get to know him are two-faced, smiling rich men. Vincent van Hossen is the only sincere person he meets among the crowd. He introduces his daughter, little Maria, and says he has another daughter for him to meet. Tired of all the people crowding him, Tepe takes a break as Ishin's maid, Yu, caters to his needs. Tepe sees a woman practicing her swordplay outside the window and rushes to her. While the woman practices, Tepe appears in front of her to praise her fencing. The woman suddenly attacks him, so he draws out his wooden sword. Both of them are equally skilled. Ishin and Vincent appear to stop the two from fighting. It turns out that the woman is Sylvia van Hossen, the daughter of Vincent and Tepe's new fiancé. Ishin, Yu, and the sleeping Tepe are in a limo, heading home after the party. Ishin talks to Yu about his guilt for putting Tepe in the position of having a fiancé, something he compares to how he forced a life on his daughter in the past. He, however, assures that Tepe has a choice in how his relationship with Sylvia will end up. Arriving at their destination, Ishin has left a mansion for Tepe to live in. Ishin leaves, leaving Yu by Tepe's side. The two walk into the mansion, and Tepe is greeted by many of his maids. He also finds his room to be big and sparkling. He lies on his bed, thinking about both Charlotte and Sylvia. He calls on Yu to talk about whether having a fiancé is normal in the world of the rich. Tepe hopes he knows more about Sylvia's personality. The next morning, Tepe is dressed up to be ready for his first day of school. Boarding the limo, he realizes Yu will also come with him as a student. On their way, Tepe realizes that the school he will be attending is the huge and prestigious Shuho Academy. Arriving at the academy, he finds that everyone is staring at him since he is an Arima. Wanting to get away from staring eyes, Tepe runs to the school's glamorous cafeteria. There he bumps into the student Sika. As the president of the social club, Sika reprimands him for having an unbuttoned collar and violating his personal space by adjusting his clothing. Sika is such a known figure that her friends, Erika and Ayano, are insulted that Tepe doesn't know her. Exploring the campus, Tepe finds that he gets too much unwanted attention from the principal, the teacher, and the students. His classmate Mezu tries to make friends with him, but the barrage of other classmates surrounds Tepe. He doesn't get to properly introduce himself to him. Charlotte also goes to same academy and is happy to come across Tepe. She is so happy to see him that she hugs Tepe, making him lose balance, and he ends up on top of Charlotte on a desk. Sylvia just so happened to come into the classroom to find Tepe on top of Charlotte. Unable to stand the vulgarity, she runs away. Tepe and Charlotte have lunch together. They see Sylvia on her way to the fencing hall, and Tepe reveals to Charlotte that she is his fiancée. He is troubled that Sylvia saw him in a bad way in the classroom, so Charlotte suggests they go to the fencing club to fix the misunderstanding with Sylvia. Going to the fencing hall, Teppei finds that Sylvia's swordplay while sparring shows no passion, as if she is lonely for lacking any worthy opponents. Knowing that Teppei is her equal on the sword, Charlotte tempts Sylvia to challenge Teppei in a sparring session. At the fencing hall, Sylvia wins a fencing match against Teppei. Sylvia is unsatisfied with her win, knowing that she only won because they are fencing. Instead, she wants to face Teppei in his dojo style with the sword. Yu suddenly appears to deliver Teppei's Japanese-style sword to him. The two face each other again, this time with Teppei in a dojo-style stance and Sylvia in a fencing style. In an instant, the battle is over, with both fighters having each other's swords at their throats. While it may seem like a draw, Teppei saw that Sylvia drew her sword faster and admits defeat. They shake each other's hands, beginning their friendship. Seeing the two being friendly, Charlotte comes in to hug them. On their way in the limo, Yu tells Teppei that he should join the social club since it is where the school's most eligible people come together. Sylvia and Charlotte already recommended him to the club, and he wonders what kind of club it is. Teppei stands in front of the social club building. Amazed at how huge it is, he goes inside to find people whispering about his arrival. Sika does not want to accept Teppei as a member and makes it clear to his face, since the social club will be hosting a party in a week. Sika challenges Teppei to show he has the proper dignified etiquette down for the social club by then. If he can do that, he can become a member. For days, Teppei practices proper coffee drinking, standing straight as he walks, dancing properly, and so on. At night, while Teppei is studying, Yu serves him coffee. Teppei is reminded of his mother, who used to serve him a drink in the middle of the night too. Yu shares her story of growing up as an orphan, until Aishin brought him up and made her a maid. Due to this, Yu feels like she owes her life to Aishin, and she considers it an honor that she is serving his grandson. The next morning, Teppei goes to school, still practicing his etiquette. Sika sees his efforts and is annoyed that he is working so hard. She comes across students talking about her, and she believes the entire school sees her as a villain for being hard on Teppei. Back to Teppei and his friends. They find that Teppei has hardly improved in the way he presents himself. Since Teppei is good at martial arts, Yu suggests that Teppei treat his etiquette lessons as if he were practicing martial arts. At Yu's suggestion, the group is encouraged to continue Teppei's etiquette lessons. With the week over, Teppei, Charlotte, and Sylvia head to the social club, all dressed up for the party. Sika warns Teppei again that he needs to convince her that he can be a dignified member of the club. Throughout the ball, Teppei is proven to be charming to people. As he and Charlotte dance, people cannot stop complimenting his charisma. Sika is unable to deny this for herself and is frustrated about it. After the party, Sika admits that Teppei presented himself wonderfully. Despite the group celebrating their victory, Sika reveals she still cannot make him a member of the club. She challenges Teppei to host a party. Based on what the party will be like, only then will Sika admit him as a member. Sika is at home, trying to make art, but cannot find the inspiration to put on the canvas. At Teppei's mansion, Yu tells Teppei that the Arima automobile engineers have developed a motorcycle that doesn't fall. Teppei remembers wanting a bike that cannot fall before and did not realize Yu took him seriously. Now that he has seen the bike, Teppei disappoints the engineers, saying he doesn't want it. At the academy, Teppei hangs around with Charlotte and Sylvia in the social club as they try to figure out how to plan the party. Teppei comments about how Sika is not around and must be ignoring her duties as president. Erika and Ayano overhear his comments and feel insulted that Teppei doesn't appreciate how busy Sika is. As the daughter of the Howdo corporate president, the star model, and the designer of the Howdo clothing brand St. Rose, this caught Teppei by surprise, knowing nothing about Sika. Sika arrives at the club. Mezu greets her and thanks Sika for choosing him as the social club male representative and to be interviewed at a St. Rose fashion event. Sika, however, feels annoyed to be unable to find anyone but Mezu for the interview. On his way home, Teppei wonders why Sika hates him so much. Before going home, Teppei heads to his grandfather to talk to him about it. The next day, Mezu shows himself to have a severe cold. While Mezu cannot admit it, he is in no condition to represent the social club at the St. Rose fashion show interview. Teppei goes to the Hotel El Grand in his place. At the fashion show, Sika is surprised and annoyed to see Teppei. Teppei explains the situation to her, and Sika warns him to be at his best at the interview. After the fashion event, Sika and Teppei head to the interview. Every time the interviewer asks Teppei a question about the social club, Sika kicks him under the table to pressure him to answer correctly. Teppei gets so frustrated by Sika that he tells the interviewer that she is bossy as the leader of the club. Despite the negative connotation of the comment, Teppei elaborates that Sika's take-charge quality and charisma make her a good leader. This makes Sika truly flattered, and she smiles at Teppei. After the interview, the two have dinner together. Teppei reveals that he knows why Sika hates him so much after talking to Ishin. His grandfather told Teppei that he used to neglect his wife due to his work, so his wife had an affair with Sika's grandfather. When Ishin found out, he banished his wife from the Arima family and severed all the ties with their company Huadu. Teppei elaborates that he knows Sika wants to enter her products in Arima department stores, but all of them got rejected. Sika's anger towards Ishin is so potent that the other customers in the restaurant all look at her. Teppei gives her a letter showing that he is now in charge of all the stores in Arima. He tells Sika she can now sell her creations in the Arima stores and tells him that Ashina wants to apologize to her and regrets how he treated his grandfather. With what Teppei said, Seiki feels energized and finally forgives the Arima family. They toast wines, and she thanks Teppei for everything. The next day, Sylvia and Charlotte are happy to have made peace with Sika. Charlotte asks Teppei out on a date for an upcoming holiday. She later asks Sylvia if it's okay with her since she is Teppei's fiancée. Sylvia tells her it is alright, hiding her hesitance under the guise that she only thinks Teppei is a friend. Later at night, in the Hassan household, Sylvia's family can see that something is bothering her. Despite her family seeing how much Sylvia has feelings for Teppei, she insists that they are only friends. Her father, Vincent, realizes right away that Sylvia doesn't want to fall for Teppei since the family might never return to their home country of Firmish if that happens. Vincent tells her that it is okay for Sylvia and Maria to forget about their homeland if it means they are happy. With something to think about, Sylvia leaves the dining room. Meanwhile, at the Hazelrink estate, Charlotte is picking out the right clothes for her date with Teppei. Alfred is so worried about his mistress that he doesn't approve of her dating Teppei. Sylvia calls Charlotte on her phone, however Sylvia is so hesitant to say anything until she just hangs up. Sylvia wonders to herself in sadness what she was about to say. The date day has arrived, and Teppei and Charlotte meet up in casual clothing in the beauty of the city streets. Charlotte is glad since it is very rare for her to go out without Alfred or any of her security detail. They enjoy going around the mall and the aquarium and playing with dogs. Teppei lets Charlotte taste takoyaki, and she finds it so spicy that she squirms, but also finds it delicious. The two ride on a Ferris wheel. They enjoy the view and get into talking about Teppei's parents. Charlotte tells Teppei that his parents' love is still in his heart, making the two's bond grow stronger. Charlotte reluctantly asks if he will marry Sylvia, but Teppei doesn't know. Charlotte tells him that she and Sylvia have been childhood friends as two girls from aristocratic families. When they were kids, Charlotte used to scribble chalk on the floor despite being forbidden. At the time, Sylvia's mother had just died in an accident and was being mourned by her and her father, Vincent. Vincent receives a letter written by Sylvia, which she intended to give to God. The letter stated that Sylvia asked God to bring her mother back. Vincent looked at what Sylvia had written on the floor, which was a message to her mother to come back. He hugged Sylvia in tears, and it was the young Sylvia who comforted her. Vincent gave Sylvia a pendant with her mother's picture on it, and they hugged again. The story makes Teppei realize that even the rich can live sad lives. After the ride, Charlotte hugs Teppei tightly from behind. She tells him to never forget about her, no matter what happens. Meanwhile, Sylvia is practicing her fencing with tears in her eyes. Teppei decides to throw his party at a hot spring resort, catching everyone by surprise. The mode of travel to get there is by train, so everybody meets up at the station. Teppei explains that he wants to let his rich schoolmates experience a vacation spot for ordinary people. Being so rich, most of the girls do not know how to pass the ticket check. Sika is so well regarded by the others for just being able to cross with no hustle. Arriving at the resort, the girls find their rooms to be quaint. Teppei encourages you to stay in the room of the other girls despite only being a maid, making you uncomfortable. In the room of the boys, Teppei and his male schoolmates plan to peek at the girls once they take their bath, despite worries that they will get caught. Teppei assures them that he is an expert at making it seem like his perversions are just accidents. He has become their leader in their grand mission. In the girls' room, the girls are already anticipating that the men are going to spy on them. Sylvia intends to take her sword to the bath just in case. They find the bathing area relaxing. The men hear the women talking about each other's bodies from the other side of the wall. One of the men cannot take it anymore and goes to the women's side. He comes out of it badly injured. The remaining men praise his sacrifice with a salute. The men crawl to the floor, trying to get another shot at going near the girls' side of the bathhouse. The place turns out to have trap doors on the floor, and it is not long until only Teppei is left. Teppei moves forward with the mission and steps on mine. The girls sees a shooting star, only to find out it is the speeding Teppei heading in their direction. All the girls chastise the boys for trying to take a peek at them, aside from Yu, who tells Teppei she would undress for him if ordered. Since they are all on vacation, the girls forgive the boys and continue to enjoy the night. They all enjoy playing table tennis, singing karaoke, eating together, and other vacation activities. As their day ends, the girls are in their bedroom talking to each other as they try to sleep. Sika thinks Teppei did not host a party at all but had fun. By next week, she will announce if he will be a member of the social club. Sika, Charlotte, Yu, and Sylvia all ended up sharing how much they like Teppei. They make a pact to not be resentful or jealous no matter who Teppei chooses among them or if he chooses someone outside their group. They call the pact the Hot Springs Pact. The Arima automobile engineers show Teppei that they improved upon their unfalling motorcycle design by adding women's legs as support. Teppei still does not like it. Going to school, Teppei is happy to see Charlotte in the morning. Sylvia sees the encounter and remembers their Hot Springs Pact. Despite this, she cannot help but be jealous. Alfred suddenly barges into the hall to chase Teppei for being with Charlotte. They got away from him, but Charlotte twisted her ankle from all the running. Teppei carries her in his arms and brings her to the infirmary to get her ankle treated. Rose petal suddenly falls from the sky. The students look up and see that there is a huge white blimp above them. A man skydives down to the school, and he lands in front of Charlotte as he intended. Sylvia recognizes the man as Hart Veselheim, the biggest businessman from Hazelrink Principal and an important business partner of the Arima Group. Hart kisses Charlotte's hand and introduces himself as Charlotte's fiancé, putting everyone, including Teppei, in silent shock. When Hart leaves, Charlotte is left silent. Teppei breaks the ice by inviting Charlotte to the Arima Hills Hotel. Charlotte gets her cheerfulness back and gets excited for the trip. At night, Sylvia overhears her father talking about something serious over the phone. She listens in with wide eyes and a wide mouth. The next day, Sylvia confronts Charlotte as she knows about how their two countries, Hazelrink and Firmish, are secretly building nuclear silos. Charlotte says she knows nothing about it and does not think his father knows about it either. According to what Sylvia heard from his father's conversation, the silos were likely instigated by a mysterious third country with the likely intention of breaking the alliance between the two countries. The two realize someone is eavesdropping on their conversation. Sika reveals herself and tells the two that she will keep what she heard a secret. She also tells them that her news tycoon uncle told her that there are whispers that Arima Hills will be attacked tonight. Charlotte receives a message from Teppei that says they will go to the Arima Hills tonight. Thinking Teppei will be able to do something about the attack, Charlotte feels confident and plans to go. At the Arima Hills lobby, Teppei crosses paths with Hart and his assistant, Josephine. Hart confirms that he is at the hotel because he has a business meeting with Ishin. Hart and Ishin arrive at their meeting spot. What they are about to talk about is so important that Hartman asks Josephine to go outside while they talk. A second later, Vincent arrives to join the meeting. They talk about the cooperative agreement between Hazelrink, Firmish, and the Arima Group to build a resort. Hart confirms that the third country's objective is to build secret nuclear weapons near the resort with the intent of destroying relations between the two countries. Charlotte arrives at the Arima Hills suite, where Teppei told her from a phone message they would meet. Despite her excitement, she opens the door to find no one in the room. Teppei is elsewhere, outside his mansion, practicing his swordplay with Yu looking after him. Teppei looks at his phone and wonders why Charlotte has left him so many messages. He calls Charlotte, and the moment Charlotte reaches for her phone, the entire Arima Hills has a blackout. Teppei then receives a mysterious message from someone claiming to have killed his parents, saying they now have his lover. Armed men have infiltrated the Arima Hills Hotel in the middle of the blackout and have burst in on Eshin, Vincent, and Hart's meeting room. Leading the charge is the secretary of Hart, Josephine, revealing her betrayal of Hart. Three masked and armed men have also come to Charlotte's suite and restrained her. The leader of the three men is a calm figure who tries to make Charlotte's situation as comfortable as it can be, while the two others cannot stop fawning over her. They prepare a miniature TV to see if they have made the news, but unfortunately for them, no news is reporting the invasion of Arima Hills, only the blackout. Elsewhere, Sika is talking to her grandfather over the phone, and she thanks him for not leaking the invasion of Arima Hills. This makes Josephine and her men confused about why their activities are being censored. Josephine and her man are in a further panic because they discovered that the control room of the building has been accessed from the outside. It is Yu and her team of made hackers who have accessed the control room. With Yu's expert computer skills, she regained control of the building's surveillance cameras. Through the cameras, Teppei and Yu see that Charlotte, Eshin, Vincent, and Hart are restrained in the building. The invaders then cut the maid's access to the camera and uploaded a virus, so the maid's activities would slow down. Teppei intends to go to the Arima Hills despite Yu's hesitance. He reluctantly uses the motorcycle with women's leg attachments. Before he goes, Sylvia appears to tell Teppei she will go with him. As they speed down the road, they are ambushed by gunmen on bikes. Teppei presses a button that transforms the legs into missiles, defeating the bikers. Meanwhile, Charlotte is conversing with her captor, and the man reveals that he was born into a poor family and always looked up at the Arima Hills as if it was heaven. The man sees the unfairness that there are people who live in hell while people like Charlotte are in heaven. She is reasoning to her captor that the rich and the poor should come to an understanding. But the masked man wants none of it. Elsewhere, Teppei and Sylvia had infiltrated the building, and they are following Yu's instructions through their interlink to navigate through, silently ambushing the enemies on the way. They meet up with heavily armored men from the Arima SB unit summoned to take care of the situation. Much to Josephine's frustration, the idol group is dominating the news, leaving their activities unknown to the public. Hart suddenly charges at Josephine. Josephine then guns down her former master. She is smiling to see that her former master is gone. She explains to Issen and Vincent that their group's goal is to ruin the reputation of the Arima group. Despite admitting she has lost the battle for the building, she is confident she will win the war and orders her men to retreat. Even the three men in Charlotte's sweet retreat. Before they leave, they tell Charlotte there is a bomb in the building. The blackout has ended, and Teppei and Sylvia arrive at Aishin and Vincent's location, relieved that everyone is safe. Teppei receives the news that Hart did not survive, which makes him worry and rush to find Charlotte. Teppei finds Charlotte at the suite still tied up. He hugs the crying girl in relief that she is okay. Charlotte remembers that the invaders planted a bomb in the building and tells Teppei about it. Yu's computer immediately senses multiple bombs in different locations in the Arima Hills. A blackout then puts the building into darkness again, putting Charlotte and Teppei in fear. Charlotte is just glad Teppei is with her, holding her hand despite the dire situation. Meanwhile, Sylvia and the others are already at the mansion with Yu and her army of maid hackers. Yu informs all that the virus the invaders planted makes it impossible for her to take control of the building again. The only way is to reformat the Arima Group servers, but it would mean losing all of the Arima Group's data. While all the maids fear the loss of the data, Ishin instructs Yu to reformat the servers anyway. He reminds everyone that the Arima Group's backup data is all in his and every loyal Arima employee's heads, so show no fear of loss. The Arima SP unit reports that they have found 3 of the bombs, and it's counting down. Sylvia volunteers to find one of the bombs, and while Vincent and the others try to stop her, she justifies saving Charlotte and Teppei. Sika volunteers to come with her. They finally found the bomb. Sika is so panicked that she throws the bomb into the air. Mid-air, Sylvia cuts the red wire with her sword, luckily defusing the bomb. Meanwhile, Teppei and Charlotte find the last bomb with 10 seconds remaining. Teppei runs into the bathroom and tosses the bomb into the dust chute. The bomb explodes, but with no casualties since the chutes of the building are designed to withstand earthquakes. The crisis in the building is over, and Ishin congratulates everyone for an excellent job. Charlotte, Teppei, Sylvia, and Sika meet each other in relief at the Arima Hills ground floor. As Charlotte is in a cheerful mood, Sylvia tells him that Hart did not survive the chaos. Charlotte tells everyone she was never in love with Hart despite him being her fiancé. But since he sacrificed himself, she has now fallen for him. A driver with a limo arrives to take Charlotte home, and she says goodbye to the others. Sylvia knows that Charlotte only forced herself to say she is in love with Hart out of kindness. Upon a closer look at Charlotte's limo driver, it is revealed that he is a disguised Hart, still alive. Ishin, Yu, and Vincent arrive at the Arima Hills for Teppei, Sika, and Sylvia. Ishin informs everyone that a horse carriage will arrive at any moment for Charlotte. This makes the others confused since Charlotte was just picked up by a limo. They realize that Charlotte has been kidnapped, breaking Teppei's spirit. Meanwhile, Charlotte's limo stops to let Josephine enter. It comes as a shock to Charlotte, just as much as seeing that Hart is her driver. Back at the mansion, the group of heroes reviews surveillance footage of Hart and Josephine dragging the unconscious Charlotte on a plane, thus discovering that Hart's death was just an act and that he is an enemy. With the enemies heading to Hazelrink, the adults tell Teppei and the girls that the situation has now become an international incident, so Teppei and the others are not allowed to intervene. This puts Teppei in a depressive state, guilty that he cannot do anything to save Charlotte. He remembers when Charlotte told him not to forget about her in sadness. He spent the next day going to school lifeless, thinking only of his moments with Charlotte and skipping classes to be alone. Meanwhile, the tied-up Charlotte wakes up on a train in Hazelrink, with Hart right in front of her. He admits that he was the mastermind of what happened in Arima Hills. He plans to disgrace Aishin in front of the eyes of the world. He leaves the guarding of Charlotte to the 2 men who kept her captive before at Arima Hills. They treat her more like a guest than a prisoner. Meanwhile, Yu receives a report that Charlotte is being held captive at the Grand Hazelrink Royal Train. Sylvia and Yu wonder how Teppei will react to the information. Meanwhile, Tepe returns to school with an angry Sika there to meet him for being too depressed to do anything for Charlotte. She encourages him to do better. She kisses him and tells him he can do it since he is the man she fell in love with. Sylvia also comes to slap Tepe to his senses. She shows her disappointment towards him and tells him she will come rescue Charlotte. Yu visits the sad Tepe in his room. While Tepe avoids looking at Yu puts his head on her lap and tells him everyone is worried for Charlotte and that there is still hope to rescue her. Tepe asks Yu for information on Charlotte's location and requests that he stay on Yu's lap for just a little longer. Back on the train, Hart and Josephine are spending their alone time together. Josephine says that they no longer have any reason to keep Charlotte alive, but Hart still insists they can use her. This makes Josephine jealous. Deep in thought, Hartman leaves Josephine to herself. At the Hassan household, Sylvia tells her father she will go to Firmish to intercept the train holding Charlotte. She invites her sister Maria to come with her so she too can know their home country. Back at the train, Charlotte is taking a shower while her guards are outside the door. Josephine enters the shower to threaten her about how serious her situation is. Charlotte shows her resolve by saying she will not run, frustrating Josephine. Josephine goes back to Hart. They await the heroes, knowing they will come to rescue Charlotte. Meanwhile, in Tepe's mansion, he is looking at a picture of his parents, and he promises them that he will rescue Charlotte. Tepe visits his grandfather Ishin at his house to make his intention to go to Firmish and rescue Charlotte clear. Ishin tells Tepe a story about a man who obtained 600 million yen and made it into 1.2 billion yen. Despite his fortune, he ended up destroying himself. He warns Tepe that the real worth of a fortune is limited only to one's way of life. Ishin gives him a katana, crafted by Arima Industries, that can cut through anything. Comparing fortune to a sword, Ishin tells Tepe that it can bring people livelihoods and also cut through them. He challenges Tepe to show him what he can cut with the sword. After the two talks, Yu appears in front of Ishin with a sad look. Ishin realizes that Yu has fallen for Tepe and is sad, knowing she is not the one Tepe picked. Treating her like a daughter, Ishin hugs Yu to comfort her. At the airport, as Tepe is about to board a plane to Firmish, Sika asks him what he would have done if she was the one abducted instead of Charlotte. She doesn't wait for Tepe to answer and hugs him with tears instead. Tepe walks away, but not before telling Sika he would have tried to rescue her too. Tepe and Yu arrive at Firmish, with Sylvia, Maria, and Vincent there to meet them. Vincent announces that there will be a party tonight due to their arrival. At night, Tepe and Sylvia spend time alone by the lake while the others are at the party. Sylvia tells Tepe that her father always holds parties in difficult times to gather people together, regardless if they are of high status or not. Sylvia shows her pendant with her mother's picture on it to Tepe. He tells her that her mother is pretty and compares Sylvia to her, making Sylvia blush. They reminisce and suggest they spar again. As they spar, Sylvia declares her intention to dedicate her life to Firmish. She wins the duel and tells Tepe to forget about their engagement since she doesn't want a man who lost to her twice. As if to say goodbye, she kisses Tepe and tells him they will rescue Charlotte together. The Grand Hazelrink train arrives in Furnish territory. Sylvia uses radio communications to tell the train to stop, but Hart ignores her. A man on a motorcycle chases the train. The guards report this to Charlotte, who thinks it is Tepe. She rushes to the train windows to see him. Hart's men fire at the biker, who is revealed to be Alfred under the helmet. Alfred jumps into the train and beats up the men firing at him. While the men are busy with Alfred, Tepe sneaks into the front part of the train. Meanwhile, Sylvia is riding a horse and also chasing the train with her cavalry unit. Josephine takes Charlotte hostage to impede Tepe. She pushes Charlotte towards Tepe, intending to shoot the two together. Hart shoots at Josephine before she can, insisting that she did not follow the plan to let Charlotte live. He shoots Josephine 2 more times to make sure she is no longer alive. Hart then tells Tepe and Charlotte that when he was a boy, he was a poor pickpocket who regularly went to luxury hotels to steal. One day he tried to steal from Ishin, but Ishin caught him. Ishin tells the young boy to rise to the ranks of society without resorting to cowardly tricks. Hart has never felt more humiliated in his life. Ever since that day, Hart has sworn that he will give Ishin a taste of his own medicine. As Hart monologues about his life story, Tepe uses the distraction to get rid of his men and stop Hart from firing his gun. The chaos forces Charlotte out of the door of the speeding train, and Tepe grabs her before she falls. Hart shoots him, leading him to fall off the train while Charlotte stays in. Charlotte is in silence, unable to believe Tepe is gone. She puts her attention on Josephine and requests that Hart treat her wounds. Seeing Hart do nothing, Charlotte carries Josephine on her back, intending to treat her herself. She tells Hartman that she will save Josephine because that's exactly what Tepe would do. Meanwhile, Tepe is revealed to be alive because Alfred caught him with his bike before he fell off the train and the bullet only grazed him. Alfred is trying to catch the train, but with the bike also carrying Sylvia and Tepe, he thinks it won't be possible. They stop for a moment to pick who should be kicked off the bike. Once Alfred gets kicked out, Tepe and Sylvia resume the chase. It turns out Charlotte's two masked guards have medical knowledge and are helping Charlotte save Josephine. Meanwhile, Tepe and Sylvia have caught up to the train. Tepe boards the train and uses his katana to cut the other carriages off from Hartman's, leading Josephine to be treated in peace, separated from the action. Tepe confronts Hart, who has Charlotte. Hart has a gun pointed at Tepe. Tepe reveals his perspective on Hart's story when he met Ishin. He believes his grandfather was not trying to humiliate Hart, but showed that he believed in him. Hartman, in his denial of Tepe's perspective, keeps shooting him, but the bullets do not touch him. Tepe continues to say that it doesn't matter if a person is rich or poor, everyone has value, and all of his friends have taught him that. Hart doesn't want to hear him anymore and presses a button that bombs the train into flames. Hart reveals to Tepe that he was the one who eliminated his parents as part of his revenge on Eshin. Tepe answers that Charlotte taught him that all life is precious and that his parents still live on in his heart. He declares that he forgives Hart. Hart tries to shoot him, but Tepe disarms his gun with his sword. He punches Hart and tells him to live on. Suddenly, the train crashes with a massive explosion. Tepe and Charlotte are sent flying together, only to be caught by Sylvia on a bike. Meanwhile, Hart was also sent flying and got caught by Alfred on a tractor. Alfred then throws him into a lake, still alive. With their troubles over, Charlotte shows her affection to Tepe. Sylvia fully witnesses them and cannot believe the indecency she is looking at. Josephine wakes up at a hospital to see Hart by her side. Tepe, Charlotte, Sylvia, and you all go to the social club, where Sika and all the members of the club have a ballroom party ready for them. Tepe dances with Sika, Sylvia, Charlotte, and you on the dance floor. On the limo ride to the school, you tells Tepe that the Grand Hazelrink train and parts of Firmish have been damaged due to the incident. Tepe feels guilty about it and wants to personally apologize to everyone about it. He bumps into Sika, who tells him that Sylvia and Charlotte will forgive him. He apologizes to both Sylvia and Maria, but they see no reason for him to do so. Charlotte is upset because Tepe apologizes to her last and says she doesn't care about a train being damaged. She then tells Tepe that what happens next is up to him.